Hey guys, this is OneLeaf Find NV200. These are binoculars dedicated for night vision and daytime observation, recording, and much more than that. So let's get into it. So in terms of components, this device composed of camera that can work in either day mode or in night mode, which works in near infrared mode. It has a replaceable lens. This one is 35mm, but they are having options with even bigger focal length, so narrow field of view. It has a very powerful IR illuminator, which is adjustable in terms of beam width. And it has on top a laser rangefinder, which is also really powerful. In my experience, it goes almost up to 1 kilometer. So in the background, in the back side, I should say, you have a really huge display. You can cover both of your eyes, so hence binoculars. But the display is a single display, and there is a special lens behind it to project that display further away from you. It has a built-in recording, meaning that it has an SD card. You can decide whether to get it with or without the SD card when you purchase it. It's a micro SD, and it supports up to 256 megabyte cards. It has a USB-C, which can be used for charging, and also something I haven't done yet, but I assume also for firmware upgrade if ever needed. It has a mini HD port, so you can directly connect it to the display or playback or watch live image from the device. And it has a headphones out on the top. Everything is well sealed, so it's protected against weather conditions. The device is powered via 3 batteries. One battery compartment for 2 batteries is in this side, so that this type of the battery is 1865 charge battery that is dedicated for charging. So basically it's a Li-ion type, 3.7 volts. And there is also one on this side under this cover. So everything is, as I mentioned, protected, and the batteries can be charged, are charged, if you plug in the USB through this USB-C port. On the bottom you have 1/4 of an inch thread, which you can use to have this device on a tripod. If you ever want to have a really stable image, you will need to do so, because this device doesn't have any image stabilization. And on the bottom, also over here in the middle, there is a really small laser. This is in a red color. Basically it's a laser pointer. It is adjustable via 2 screws, so you can adjust to center it to whatever you like. So let's say center of the picture, probably. The device comes with quite a few accessories. So this is the box it comes in. So you get like a really big pouch, which you can use to put the device in. You have like a sling, so a belt to put it around your neck. You have this adapter, which threads onto the 1/4 inch thread on the bottom, which is otherwise for tripod, which is dedicated for putting on accessories, such as if you ever need, let's say, a power bank or like something like that. Although these batteries do last really long time. And you have a manual in English, and there is a USB cable for charging, and some tools and screws. These tools are needed because when you receive the device, the laser rangefinder is not actually mounted on the device, so you have to mount it on. It's really easy, just one screw. Basically there is one screw here in the bottom. What you do is just put the screw in, thread it, and the contacts are automatically coupled once you do that. So there is nothing else than just threading it on. You also get some wipes for cleaning the lens and such things. Okay, so let's get a little bit more into details. By the way, the video will mainly be composed of me putting a camera behind this screen, and you will be able to watch the menus and the features that this device have. As I mentioned, the camera is a low light 4K camera. It does record in 4K, and it has a built-in IR cut filter, meaning that in the daytime you will have really nice daytime 4K images. And then in the nighttime, once you switch, it will remove that filter, and you will have the near infrared spectrum, in which this laser illuminator also works. This will allow you to see in complete darkness with the help of the illuminator. The laser rangefinder is as well in the near infrared spectrum, meaning that once you are in the night mode, you will be able to see exactly where the laser is flashing. And this is also very good because it will allow you to calibrate the laser to the box that is displayed on the screen. There is a good video on how to do this, and I will link it below the video. Continuing with the camera, as I mentioned, there is interchangeable lenses. This one is 35 millimeters. There is also options coming that are 50 millimeter, 70 millimeter, and 100 millimeter. Although I would mention that since this device doesn't have any optical stabilization, the 35 millimeter is probably the best option for handheld use, because the shakes from your hands will be visible unless you're using it on a bipod, in which case this is not an issue anymore. I would also point out that similar to the NV200, which I review for the scope camera, this sensor also has quite a bit of rolling shutter. I will say that this sensor used in this device has a really nice image. The 4K is excellent. There are a couple of quirks that I will mention regarding different image settings, different resolution and frame rate settings. This device also has a built-in audio, which is really good, especially compared to the NV200. So the audio from it is excellent, and I will give you an image from the device with an audio so you can see, you can compare that. So let's get to those settings in terms of the video resolution and frame rate. So this device does go up to 4K 120. For best night vision images, for best image quality, definitely go always with 30 frames per second, because as you know, the lower the frame rate, the higher the exposure time, meaning you get more light to the sensor, the image will be better. But there is more than just that. This device seems to have some sort of sharpening, and with the digital zoom, this sharpening gets a lot more pronounced. And the sharpening is only, from my test, only in 30 frames per second, and I believe also in 60 frames per second. I will show you this later. In any case, it's not in 120 frames per second. This sharpening can be quite annoying if you are fully zoomed in digitally, so the 20 times magnification. I would actually recommend not to go to 20 times, something like 10 to 13 is probably more realistic in terms of image quality. If you are just using it as a binocular, then feel free to go further than that. But if you are recording and then trying to put that image to the big screen, you will notice, of course, the digital magnification effect, and especially that sharpening that I mentioned before. I would also like to point out that according to my test, the 4K 120 is not actually 120. The files are actually 120 frames per second, but the image that is captured, I believe, is only 60. But if you go to only full HD, in that case, the 120 is actually 120, and you can slow the footage down if you like. Also, as I mentioned before, this aperture ring it is very practical for the daytime use. It kind of reduces flare in the lens, and also it makes it the depth of focus is bigger, meaning that you don't have to pay attention to distance and focusing as much, and also makes the image a little crispier. So I would recommend using it, although the device works just fine if you don't put it on during the bright day. For the nighttime, definitely you want as much light as possible. Definitely remove it and use it without. The Illuminator is controlled in terms of zoom. It's a really powerful. I mentioned a couple of times it's laser. It's actually not. I think it's standard diode, but it's really powerful. And I would also point out really one important thing. I don't have any information regarding these two devices being class 1, which means eye safe at close ranges. So definitely do not turn this device on and point to someone else, especially when you are at narrow beam on the Illuminator or in laser. In any case, I would assume that the laser actually is eye safe, but I'm not convinced that this Illuminator is. So definitely make sure that once you have it on, you're pointing in something far away, and definitely not up close at animal or person or anything like that. This Illuminator is really powerful, and this is of course a really nice thing for a device, but it is something that you have to also treat with caution, not to have any issue. There is I briefly mentioned before, so you have like 3 sensors here. One of them is laser rangefinder, one is camera, and one source is the laser pointer. So if you really want to have this perfectly centered, so that on the frame that you have everything in the center, the laser is non-adjustable, meaning that it might be slightly off the center, and there is a box on the display where the laser is hitting to helping you center what you're aiming, so center what you're measuring, the distance, because in the day mode you cannot see the laser rangefinder, you can only see it in the night mode. So that box is adjustable. As I mentioned before, there will be a link in below how to adjust that box to be exactly where the laser is hitting. So even if it's daytime, you can use the laser and still be sure that you are aiming at the right thing that you want to measure. For the laser pointer, there are 2 screws with which you can do the same. I intentionally didn't make any adjustments on the device for the video that you will about to see. So you will see how much it can be off, but again, this is adjustable. All you have to do is follow some instructions. I will say that the battery is really good. Battery life is really good, but of course it will depend highly on how much you are using the Illuminator. That is quite a big drain of the power. Last thing I would mention before we go through menus and features is the the lens that is projecting the display further away, so you can place it right against your eyes, is not projecting it into infinity like on some devices. This is due to the design, because this is using a single screen, which is an excellent screen. I must say that this screen is probably one of the best I've seen in this price range. But the thing is that it's projecting it further, but not extremely far. So for those of you that are, what's the word, is nearsighted, I think. So the guys that need glasses when you are trying to read, I'm getting in that age, so it will not be long for me when I will need those. I don't need them yet, but you never know. It is hard to focus to the screen when you are fully pressed up against the screen. But the thing with this kind of screen is that you don't really need to be pressed up against the screen. So you can go a little further away and you have perfect image. And also there is more than enough room here that you actually can wear glasses below that and use the device that way. So I'm not going to go through all the specs. I will link them below. I don't think that the point of review is to go through the technical data sheet. That the data sheet is that's why there is a data sheet, so you can go through that. And but I will go through details on what you can use on this camera, and that will follow now. Okay, so if we look at the screen, we see a counter on the top left, which is for indication for recording. It will turn red and start to count. It will start the recording. If you take a picture by long press, it will go blue. And if it's stopped, it's grayed out. And the bottom left is time and date. And the top right is current video setting, so 4K 30 frames per second is right now. If we turn the night mode, so black and white on, it will also show you a sign which indicates the level of the illumination. So this is level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7, 8, and now it should go off. Okay, so now off. It will also show you if the laser is on in that spot. And that's about it from the top right. So let's go back to color mode. And then on the bottom we see the battery status and also if the SD card is inserted. Now we will go to the menu. So menu, you have first movie mode, which is a frame rate and resolution. Second was for still image, so amount of megapixel used for the still image. Third is picture in picture, on off. This can actually also be done by the button on the top. And fourth is lens selection, so the 35mm is the one that I have installed right now. Units can be in meter and yards. Movie clip time, so this is how it cuts the clips in those kind of chunks. I prefer the biggest possible. Auto record is on, off, but it can also be on, and we can adjust also the brightness of the LED. So let's try to do that. Yeah, so brightness, and then confirm. Okay, so this is the first layer of the menu. The second one is if we go to the menu and press this button, and then now we are at, let's say, deeper menu. This is, we have exposure, you have stamp that you want to see on the screen, you have sound recording on or off, you have settings for date and time. You have, sorry, the format was above. This is the clock settings. So you go through all of them. I have to go back now. It's a little not practical to use, but like this. And then we have to go to confirm. No, sorry. It's a little clumsy. Like this, and now we go to OK, and we are out. You can format the SD card, which I will not do right now because I have videos on it. Version and card info, just some info, and reset setup if you want to change the settings. So these are the settings in the menu. If we go back to the black and white mode, you can zoom in or out. Of course, you can do this also on the color mode. So this is of course digital zoom, and the amount of zoom that it's available, it always goes up to 20, but in certain modes it's using the whole sensor, and in that case it goes down to not 1x but 0.5x. So basically it has a 20 times zoom but it's kind of weird, yeah. But this has to do how it uses the sensor. If it uses the crop sensor in lower resolution, higher frame rate, it does that. So for example, we can check this. Let's go back to the color mode, because we don't need to be in black and white. I didn't think about that when I started this. Okay, so if we go back to menu, and now let's change the film settings to, let's say, full HD 120. You see it cropped in. So right now we start at 0, so zoom is starting at 0, and we can go further, of course, again to 20. And there's also some other things that it does differently depending on the resolution. So I assume it is making some sort of oversampling, and higher frame rate modes doesn't do that, so you get much quality difference. You get different quality if you choose different settings. So definitely by far the best is the 4K 30. But also all lower frame rates are better than high frame rates, which of course makes sense. So okay, let's go to 4K 60, for example, and if we do this and we now zoom in fully, and I will also start recording on the device just so we have that image as well. And if we go fully in, there is some sort of digital sharpness that is added only if it is in 30 mode, but not higher frame rates. So let's do the same thing. Of course I have to stop recording now. Stop recording. Okay, stop, menu, select, menu, select 30 frames per second, menu, and start record, and go zoom in again. Okay, you can see here the difference. It adds some sort of sharpening, but the condition is that the image is extremely stable, not moving, which of course is hard to do since the device doesn't have any image stabilization, but it only adds that sharpening if the image is stable, not shaking. So of course I have everything on tripod now, so it's easier now, but it would be harder otherwise. So the laser will not be able to see right now. I have separated videos that I will show you which you see it on, but right now what we can do is start the laser rangefinder. So of course also we will not see the beam of the laser rangefinder, which you do see in nighttime if you use in the black and white mode, because the laser is basically near infrared spectrum, which this sensor can detect. So right now you can see that right by the sign for the, I guess, golf hole, you can see the measured distance, and the laser is actually working constantly, repeating the measurements. So if we go to target further away, so we'll just direct to this house, you can see now it's 800 meters, and if I go back down, it will be again this 60 or less meters. So it's constantly measuring and giving you data on the top left screen. So this is really nice, I think. Of course, you also get this basically it's not really a reticle, it's more of a box where the laser is hitting. This is, by the way, adjustable because the laser is mounted on additionally, and you might need to adjust this yourself. There is a link, I will post a link below how to adjust this reticle. And the same thing with the laser pointer. So the red laser has two set screws, which are 1.5 millimeter Allen key, and you can adjust that to be all of those to be in sync. So that's it. It's the same thing in night mode. If I switch to night mode, you will see same image, although if it was dark right now, you would be able to see where the laser rangefinder is flashing, and also of course you would see the red dot if you saw the laser pointer if you had it on. Okay, so it's nighttime, And we are now in day mode. I will start recording now on the device as well. And I can show you the red laser right now. So you see the dot approximately in the middle of the screen. I can see it also with naked eye. Okay, and if we turn on the laser, we see only the box, but not the laser itself, but it is measuring the distance. I have it in yards now, as you can see. Okay, let's turn it off. Now let's go to night mode. Okay, now we are in night mode without any illumination. We can see that there is some slight light on that hill from somewhere, which wasn't visible in the day mode, but it is visible in the night mode. Again, I will show you the laser. So this is the red laser. You can see it, it's really bright in this mode. And now I will turn on, so I turn off the laser, but now I will turn on the measuring. So now you can see the laser rangefinder flashing because it's measuring the distance. Okay, as you can see, I have it in yards now. Okay, I will turn the laser now off and let's start with some illumination. So this is the minimum, but let's go first to fully wide angle of the laser, of the illuminator, sorry. So this is the narrow and this is the wide. So this is the fully wide. And if we toggle through the brightness setting, so this is level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. This is really bright now. We can zoom in and still have a really detailed image, considering it's a digital zoom. Let's adjust a little bit higher so we see the tree like that. So if we go to max zoom, so 20. Now let's zoom out. Okay, fully out. And now let's zoom in the laser. Sorry, I keep telling it laser, it's actually IR illumination. So this is the very narrow beam that it has. This is really high density. Okay, so now let's try to do some measurements as we did before. So if I remember correctly, we have here, okay, so let's dial the laser a bit down. So let's go to minimum and let's turn on the rangefinder so we can see that it's measuring the range. It's not visible now because the laser, again, the IR illumination is too bright. So let's go further. This should be somewhere the house. Yeah, this is the house. But definitely the house is too far to be reached with the camera. We can try it actually. So we are measuring it, so let's boost up the laser. Yeah, we see the house very vaguely. By the way, the box for the laser is not calibrated, so that is why right now you cannot. That was the red laser, by the way. This is the red laser on that house. That is why the box is not in the same place as the laser is, as the laser rangefinder. But yeah, we can see the house, and we're still not at maximum illumination. Let's go higher. Let's go to 8 and now try to zoom in. Of course, one thing you have to know when it comes to illumination, as soon as you have anything in the atmosphere, such as a haze or fog or anything like that, IR illumination, any kind of illumination, is really bad because you're illuminating that fog or that dirt in the atmosphere. So it doesn't really help you, the fact that you have really high intensity. By the way, I turned on before by accident the picture-in-picture mode, which is a really cool feature as well. Right now you can see that we can see the house in that small box, which is zoomed in, so this is kind of punched in the middle of the screen. So let's start ranging it, and we can move around. You can see how the picture-in-picture looks. By the way, we were not really focused appropriately for that house, so let's do this now, because we were focused for this hill. It does look quite good still, but let's try. This is too much. Let's try to have it better, if it's possible. Oh, this is worse. Yeah, I think it was quite optimal before already. Anyway, that's it for the night mode. As you can see, the buttons are illuminated, which is really nice. So the house is 213 meters. I have it in meters, of course, because I'm from Europe and I use metric system. So this is the first level, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and 8. So with 8 at 200 meters, it's more than enough, even at the widest angle. And I will try to do this with one hand. I apologize for shaking the image because I'm holding the phone behind the device itself. So I will now try to change the beam size. As you can see, I'm making it smaller and smaller, and now it's way too bright already. So this is a cool example of using option to adjust the beam. So right now I don't see anything there in the darkness because I'm overexposed over here close by. But if I narrow the beam, I get the background. The image is really excellent. 5, 6, 7, 8. So in this you can really see everything bright. Of course we're not far, but still. Maybe we can see some animals here. Yeah, they have some deers here, I believe. We will go from the other side and check it out. Yeah, it's a sheep.
Thank you guys for watching. If you are considering of purchasing this product, please use my link below. Make sure you leave the thumbs up and subscribe, and also hit that bell button to be notified of my next video. Thank you.